We are 10 minutes shy of midnight, and we are live right here on Recher Reacts. What's going on, everybody? Jay Recher here with you. Wow, what an incredible finish to that Monday night football game between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Atlanta Falcons. 22 to 21, the finest of margins. The Philadelphia Eagles absolutely blew that game. We're going to break it all down for you momentarily. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at JRetcher. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Seeing some real good growth here, guys. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in and all the love and support. Just got to continue to push it out there, continue to grow it, continue to share this on your social media, continue to get it on out there. And yeah, get those subscribers, hit that like, hit that subscribe, because every little bit counts. All right. So on tonight's show, we are obviously going to look back at that game. We'll start with that Atlanta and Philly. What the hell happened in that game? Also, we're going to rank all of the 2-0 teams in the National Football League. It looked like there was going to be 10, but the Atlanta Falcons had other plans. So only 9 2-0 teams. We will rank them. We'll go 9 to 1. I want to hear from you as I'm going along. Who do you think is the best 2-0 team out there? And then finally, a full Monday Night Raw recap. There's only a few more 3-hour episodes left, and I thought another banger tonight for Triple H and the entire crew over there in the WWE. So we'll break that down all for you here momentarily. Again, follow me on all social media platforms at J Recher. Okay, let's start with this Monday Night Football game. It looked like Philadelphia had this in the bag, but I'm going to tell you something right now. There is still something not right with the Eagles. I know they won in week one in Brazil against the Green Bay Packers. And I know they were, kind of controlling this game, but listen, Atlanta was hanging right with them. This was not a pretty football game. But as I mentioned last night on the show, it doesn't matter. Who cares? You got to go out there and you got to play 4 full quarters. And that's not what the Philadelphia Eagles did. And you could look at a couple things in this game. That play on third down as they're deep into Atlanta territory. They're taking time and time off the clock. They're making Atlanta use their timeouts. And then they throw the ball to Saquon Barkley and he drops it. Right then and there, the kind of the warning signals went up saying they left a lot of time left on the clock and their defense has not done anything to get to Kirk Cousins tonight. You think about this Philadelphia team that's been successful the last couple of years. They pride themselves on their play in the trenches. We know how good their offensive line has been. Jason Kelsey, I thought, did a great job in the booth tonight with Troy Aikman and Joe Buck. But defensively, that's one of the big reasons why they got to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. Rotating so many guys in there, they could cover one-on-one. Linebackers flying from sideline to sideline. Oh, you notice who wasn't in the game tonight? Devin White, a healthy scratch in tonight's game against the Atlanta Falcons. But no pressure on the quarterback. None. 2 QB hits in 4 quarters against Kirk Cousins, who we know is compromised and not 100% and can't really move around all that well back there. And it wasn't like he was getting rid of the ball so quickly. It was like, wow, you just can't get to him. No, he had a pretty easy night back there. Only 1 sack, and it didn't come from Josh Sweat. It didn't come from any of the linebackers blitzing. It came from Thomas Booker, the fourth. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Milton Williams. Milton Williams was the only guy with a sack tonight. Where did that vaunted pass rush go? Brandon Graham was in the game tonight. He didn't have any tackles. Jalen Carter just 1 tackle. What happened to this Philadelphia defense? They're it's they're gone. They're nowhere to be found. You leave that door open. These teams are too good in the National Football League. They're going to kick it down, and that's exactly what Kirk Cousins and the Falcons did. They marched right down the field. That was like a hot knife through butter. That was embarrassing. You're at home, primetime game. You're dominating on the ground, and then you just let this team march right down the field. And it wasn't any like incredibly, these great play calls or even just outstanding offensive execution. It was just kind of basic play, finding those soft spots in those two deep zones. Mooney with a couple of catches, and then the route that Drake London ran wasn't anything spectacular. I mean, what is Darius Slay looking? He had a horrible night. Darius Slay, long time one of the top corners in the league, whether it was Detroit or Philadelphia, he looked lost out there tonight. That Philadelphia defense is not very good. And kudos to the Falcons. They could have been 0-2, kind of looking ahead to next week. Oh my gosh, we got to go to Kansas City, take on the Chiefs. They were staring at 0-3. They needed this game tonight. And I see a lot of my people that are Atlanta Falcons fans that were already kind of waving the white flag and saying, "Oh, we're 0-2." Man, until that clock hits zero, you are not out of it at all. And Philly still had a chance to win this game. They had 34 seconds on the clock. They had a pair of touchdowns. They run that first play to Goddard, get a first down. They use the first timeout. Still plenty of time left. And for some reason, Jalen Hurts takes this big shot down the field and ends up throwing an interception to Jesse Bates. That was it. Like, why not try to dump something off to Saquon there? Why not you run it yourself? Why not have why do you have to run a play like that? It just doesn't make any sense. You know you have one of the best kickers in the game in Jake Elliott. You know you have a timeout to make a deep throw like that when you're already near midfield. That is not a good decision by Jalen Hurts. So I don't feel bad for either one of these teams. I'm not particularly a big fan of the Eagles nor the Falcons. I don't think I'm shy in my assessment there. But you want to talk about a choke job. Philadelphia blew this game big time. And for all the good vibes from Saquon Barkley and all the tush pushes that we saw tonight, that drop pass is going to come back to haunt him. I don't blame Kellen Moore, not one bit, because that was pretty much the same play they ran on to get the touchdown earlier on in the night. You paid Saquon Barkley all of that money. He's got to catch that football. It's a good throw. I'm not putting that on Jalen Hurts. I thought outside of that last throw, I thought he played a pretty good game. But my goodness, between Saquon dropping that ball and the defense not getting any type of pass rush, that's not a good defense. And it's not going to all of a sudden get better. There's a lot of big time names of big time guys that were great in the SEC. We need to stop worrying about those guys. They drafted so many Alabama guys and Georgia guys. Yeah, you got Devin White, who's a healthy scratch as well. But for all the Carters and the Deans and the Smiths and you know the Jordan Davises of the world, like I didn't think they defended the run very well. I don't think they defended the pass very well. I know they gave up only 22 points, but they gave up 152 on the ground. I mean, Atlanta wasn't much better. They gave up 186 on the ground, but you gave up 241 yards to the Atlanta Falcons, three catches to Darnell Mooney, two of them on that final drive. Um, yeah, I didn't come away from that game thoroughly impressed with either one of those teams. I don't think either one of those teams is going to win their division. Um, Maybe Atlanta makes the playoffs, maybe. But I don't know. I'm still not as committed as some other people. There's a lot of folks out there that pegged Atlanta as this super team that are freaking wiping their brow and whoo after that one. Because all of these people that bought into the hype in the offseason about the Atlanta Falcons, if they went to 0-2, all of them would be eating crow on Monday. And again, facing a crazy ass trip to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. So more on the Chiefs here momentarily. But we got some of the people hitting us up on Twitter. Why don't you guys just come on over the stream and say what up over here? Kelly Cohen and Orlando Hall. Let's see if you guys come into the stream and chat. They're hitting me up on Twitter. Come into here on StreamYard, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. We are live here. Share this with your friends and like and subscribe. But Philly blew this one big time. And it's not just on one team. The other team's got to come up big, and that's exactly what we saw with the Atlanta Falcons. A huge win for them, a huge win for Kirk Cousins and Raheem Morris. Where do they both go from here? That is a very, very good question. We know Atlanta, again, actually, they're not going to Kansas City next week. That's my apologies. Atlanta is home next week against the Chiefs, Sunday Night Football, 8:20 p.m. on NBC. I kept saying at Kansas City. They have that as a home game. That's my bad. And then also when you look at what Philadelphia has next week, oh yeah, they got to travel to New Orleans to take on the 2-0 Saints. Week after, travel to Tampa Bay to take on the 2-0 Buccaneers. Again, follow me on all social media platforms at Recher. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Okay, let's rank the 2-0 teams in the NFL. starting with number 9, because there's only 9 teams now because the Philadelphia Eagles, and I had the graphic drawn up. Philly was going to be on this list, but unfortunately for them, they are not on this list because they lost to the Atlanta Falcons 22-21 on Monday Night Football. All right, let's rank these 2-0 teams in the NFL, and we're going to start with number 9, and that is the Seattle Seahawks. A week 1 win over Denver, 26-20, and then they just beat the Patriots in overtime, 23-20. I love Mike McDonald. I think he's done a great job there. Geno Smith with DK Metcalf and the crew is a good team. And the reason why I have them at 9 isn't so much about them, but more because of the competition. They beat 2 of the weaker teams in the NFL, but I still really like what's going on up there in Seattle. And this is a guy coming from Baltimore. You know he's going to bring the hard hats. That's what they do. They pride themselves on their defense there in Baltimore. So I really like what Mike McDonald has done so far. Those 2 corners, Tariq Woolen and Devon Weatherspoon, huge fans of those guys. And it seems like Geno Smith is very comfortable playing for this head coach as well. So number 9, I got the Seattle Seahawks. At number 8, I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And for the Steelers, an 18-10 win over the Atlanta Falcons, 13-6 over the Broncos. No great shakes on offense. We know Justin Fields is in there instead of Russell Wilson. But the reason I have him over Seattle is that defense. When you have TJ Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick, and the fellas, they're going to keep you in any game. If they can take that offense to the next level and continuously get better and better, we'll see what kind of factor they're going to be in the AFC. Still not necessarily sold as Arthur Smith as the OC. He didn't really blow anybody's socks off there in Atlanta with all of those weapons. We'll see how he does in Pittsburgh. Number 7 is probably one of my favorite teams so far this season, and that is the Los Angeles Chargers. I love what Jim Harbaugh is doing there. I think Justin Herbert seems like he's really enjoying his football, and you have 2 of the best tackles in football. You drafted Joe Alt. You already had Rashawn Slater from a couple years ago out of Northwestern. And if you have 2 anchors on your offensive line like that, just keep building. Keep building in the trenches, and eventually you're going to be one of the better teams. A really, really good start for them in that division, and we'll see. I have them I actually picked them to make the playoffs before the season, so not a surprise. We'll see how they evolve as the season goes on. Number 6, the Minnesota Vikings, a 28-6 win over the Giants, and then a huge upset, 23-17 over the 49ers at home. I mentioned this on Jay and Zach earlier today. I am a huge Kevin O'Connell fan. Watching the quarterback documentary on Netflix, you just see how he treated Kirk Cousins, how he treated his players. There's no mistake there. Like, there's no mistake that a guy like that is successful. He treats these guys with so much respect, and he enables them to go out there and kind of do their thing. I love Kevin O'Connell. And JJ McCarthy goes down. Sam Darnold steps in, does a great job. Justin Jefferson, that big 97-yard touchdown. You got to tip your hat to the Minnesota Vikings. Nobody saw that coming. All right, at number 5, we got the New Orleans Saints. You want to talk about something that nobody saw coming? How about a 47-10 win over Carolina? Okay, maybe people saw that coming. But how about that 44-19 win over the Dallas Cowboys? You look at Dallas and you look at Philadelphia, their defenses the last couple of years, everybody's like, oh, look how great they are. Look at how they get to the passer. Look at how they can intercept the football. New Orleans exposed Dallas. And when you look at the job done by Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara was an absolute beast with 4 touchdowns in Big D. They have Chris Olave. Rashid Shaheed seems to take his game to the he Rashid Shaheed looks like he's taken his game to the next level. And then they just have a bunch of veterans on defense. The New Orleans Saints 2-0 and tied with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for first place in the NFC South. All right, number 4, I have the Buffalo Bills. Now, the big reason why I have them at number 4 is because I think right now they have the guy that's going to be the MVP this year, and that's Josh Allen. A 34-28 win over the Arizona Cardinals, and we saw how many points that they put up against a depleted Rams team, but a comeback victory for the Bills in that game, and then a 31-10 mauling of the Miami Dolphins down there in South Florida. Even before the Tua injury, they were manhandling these guys. I like Adding a guy like Ray Davis to the backfield to James Cook, I think you're seeing guys like Knox and Kincaid step up, and Josh Allen just putting the team on his back. I really like what I've seen from Buffalo so far. Everybody was kind of counting them out. I mean, myself included. I didn't have them making the playoffs, but I think when you have a guy like Josh Allen, man, it's hard to put them any lower than number 4. Uh, I think they're only going to get better too. I just think you're going to get Keon Coleman more involved in the mix. Um, yeah, uh, I really like what I've seen so far from Josh Allen. I think he's being smarter too, as far as taking care of himself when he's running the football. He has to do that because if he goes down, they are screwed. All right, number 3, the Houston Texans. This was a tough one. Number 3 and number 2. Houston with a 29-27 win over the Colts in week 1, a 19-13 win over the Bears. There is playmakers all over the field. CJ Stroud with Tank Dell and Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs on offense. You got Joe Mixon, Laramie Tunsil defensively, Will Anderson, Daniil Hunter. I could just go on and on with how many good players that they have on this team. I still think that there's room to grow. I still think defensively they have to probably be a little bit more consistent with getting and tackling guys in space. But Houston's a really, really good young football team. CJ Stroud's playing with a lot of confidence right now. Um, Joe Mixon looked like he was going to go out with injury due to that, that the hip drop tackle, but he came back in the game, so he's fine. It was really close for me, 2-3. But I have to give the Houston Texans number 3 on this list, and number 2, that's right, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucks with a 37-20 win over the Washington Commanders in week 1, a 20-16 win over the Detroit Lions in week 2. And I think it's just the Buccaneers had the most impressive win, in my opinion, in the NFL so far. And it's not just that they won, it's how they won. They won without some of their best players, and their best players that did play, or let me rephrase that. They won that game with some of their most important players, but their best players rose to the occasion. And you also had some unlikely heroes, like the guys that they rose. It wasn't like here's the difference between the two games. I feel like Philadelphia lost that game more than Atlanta won it. They hung around, made the plays when they need to. I don't look at that Detroit and Tampa Bay game and think that the Lions lost that game. I think the Bucks won that game. Baker Mayfield put this team on his back. The chemistry with Chris Godwin just continues to get better and better. Defensively, you had Zion McCollum, Christian Izzy, and Servassier Dennis, Jordan Whitehead. You had guys step up. So it wasn't like Detroit lost that game. I thought the Buccaneers won that game. And again, the most impressive win to date so far in the short 2-week NFL season here in 2024 was Tampa Bay going into Detroit and beating the Lions. With that being said, number 1, got to be the Kansas City Chiefs, right? I mean, 27-20 win over Baltimore. Isaiah Likely just steps out of bounds on the last play of the game, and then a big time field goal from Harrison Butker gives the Chiefs a 26-25 win over the Cincinnati Bengals. It's not always going to be pretty week by week in the National Football League, but the Kansas City Chiefs have proven that they can do whatever it takes to win, that they are going to do whatever it takes to win. Kansas City can beat you on offense. They can beat you on defense. They can beat you with special teams. They are like a well-rounded mixed martial artist. And they're the champs. And until somebody knocks them off their perch, they're going to be number 1 on a lot of people's lists, including this one. All right, make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at Recher. Appreciate everybody for tuning in, whether you're listening on Twitter, YouTube, or Facebook. Head on over to my YouTube, youtube.com/@JRecher10. That's JayRecher10, and like and subscribe here on YouTube and get those comments in, man. I want to hear from you guys. All right, let's wrap this baby up with a full Monday Night Raw recap. Okay, and we'll start with what we saw in the middle of the ring, and that was CM Punk with a real ass promo. Such a thread of reality tonight. There were so many good promos where they spoke from the heart, and even though it was storyline, there's a lot of reality into it. And I've said this for a long time. When WWE is firing on all cylinders, yes, they have like the pop culture influence. They have a lot of well-rounded superstars where they not only can just go in the ring, but they're also phenomenal on the microphone. But it's what they're saying. When CM Punk comes out, and we know that last week Adam Pearce announced that it's going to be Hell in the Cell at Bad Blood between Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, possibly the final chapter in this phenomenal saga that we've seen pretty much for the entirety of 2024. When CM Punk gets in the ring and you can see the disdain on his face, and he starts talking about, my wife doesn't want me to do this match, my sister doesn't want me to do this match. There's reality there, because you could say whatever you want about wrestling. You could be one of those people that are just so hung up on that it's, determined, and you don't think that they're athletes, or you don't think it's a sport, or blah 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 blah. Go watch Hell in the Cell matches. Those guys don't come out the same as they went in. It takes a lot out of these guys. The cage is a weapon in itself. It's hell in a cell, literally. And CM Punk, Phil Brooks, he's no spring chicken anymore. And I'm sure he wants another go with the belt, and he wants to do some other storylines and mix it up with some of the other big time superstars in the WWE. But this has got to weigh on you a little bit. It's certainly weighing on his family. So when you bring that into the promo, when you bring that into the storyline, the back and forth, that sliver of realness really makes it impactful. Great stuff there. Next up, Sheamus puts over Pete Dunne in a match up there. He hit him with a wooden cricket bat. Pretty long match. Only natural for Sheamus to put over the youngster. Where do these guys go from here? I eventually want to see Sheamus in that intercontinental title chase, because that is the final title for him to win. I just don't think it's going to be anytime soon. So I'm curious to see where they go from here. Next up, Jey Uso in the ring. He's got a microphone, and it's just so cool to see the growth of Jey Uso. A guy that was never on the mic, a guy that was one half of a tag team that was one of the better tag teams in the game, one of the best of all time. But for a long time, people had a tough time discerning which one was Jay and which one was Jimmy. But this whole bloodline storyline has really given both those guys an opportunity to shine and to show their personalities. And when Jimmy went on the shelf, it could have been the worst possible thing for Jay. And we see that a lot in wrestling. When one half of a tag team goes down, the other guy just kind of like, he's kind of, in the water, not without a boat. Like, he doesn't know what's going on. He's looking around. It's hard because how do you book them as a single, because they're used to being in a tag team? But Jey Uso being the right hand man for Roman Reigns, becoming main event Jey Uso, wrestling Roman in the main event of multiple PLEs, it has done wonders for his career. He's charismatic. He does backstage segments. He's on the mic. He just gets better and better. He knows exactly what he needs to do. Now, is he ever going to be, a Dean Malenko or a Bret Hart, one of those guys in the ring? No. But what he knows, he's really, really good at. He's great at selling. His timing is phenomenal. He knows he just the ring psychology, the spacing, the timing. He's on point. So he comes out. He's spitting on the mic. Here comes Braun Breaker, wearing what looks like his dad's jacket. What I don't like and what I don't love about Braun Breaker is that he's playing to the crowd. Do we have any dogs barking in Portland? You're a heel. I don't want to see cool heels. I've said that many times on the show before. I want you to be an asshole. I want people not to like you. I want people to be. You make not only yourself look better, but you make your opponent look better. The storyline's better. You want people to just. You want them to grit their teeth just at the thought that you're going to be walking out to the ring. But if you're playing up to the crowd, it's just like, now he's kind of a cool heel. He's still getting a pop when his music plays. But some really, really good back and forths. You are nothing without your family, Braun says to Jey Uso. He comes right back with, I'm going to dog walk your ass. And your title reign is going to be short and sweet like your NFL career. And you can see it on Braun's face. That got to him. Um, Again, those slivers of reality right there. You could say, hey, Jey Uso, what would you be without your family? Right back with Braun, talking about his dogs. He's going to dog walk your ass. Short and sweet, like your NFL career. That's what I'm saying. You're peppering in that realism that just continues to deepen. There's just so much depth to these storylines. That segment ends with Jay spearing Braun out of his shoes and a bunch of yeets. And I want to point this out too. As Jay is walking down to the ring, Joe Tessitore is holding up a sign that says "Keep Portland Yeet." And for the first time since Joe has been behind the broadcast booth at WWE, you saw Joe Tessitore more the fan today and more of like enjoying himself. And that's something that Pat McAfee brought out of Michael Cole. And Michael Cole's still one of the greatest of all time, but the way that Pat was able to show a different side of Cole, I love that. It's almost like an evolution of a character on screen. You know, a lot of times these guys are off screen and off camera, but on the microphone, they're the soundtrack of your childhood, your adulthood, your love and your stories of these WWE plots. But to see Joe Tessitore really like enjoy himself, I think he put so much pressure on himself to be a professional the first couple of weeks. Man, to see him come out of his shell, I love that. And you saw it on multiple occasions tonight. Judgment Day retains over the New Day after LWO comes down to help. And you saw before the match, Xavier Woods goes up to Rhea Ripley, Damian Priest, and Jey Uso as they're speaking and letting them know, hey, we're going to do this on our own. We don't need help. Please don't come out there. And they're like, all right, yeah, we appreciate that. So they're mixing it up with JD McDonough and Finn Balor. A really good match back and forth. And, unfortunately, these guys came out the New Day, and it wasn't a great pop when you first saw them, when they got in the ring, when they got introduced. Then it got louder and louder because there is that respect for, one of the greatest tag teams of all time. But the Judgment Day comes out, and here comes LWO, and Kofi jumps from the top rope out of the ring, and Woods has the pin. The referee, for some reason, I thought this was a little wonky in the storyline. The referee's outside dealing with that stuff. If Kofi's not the legal man in the ring, why are you worried about that? Woods is there. He's kind of freaking out, and before you know it, JD McDonough, he gets him almost kind of like in a rear naked choke, coup de grace from Finn off the top rope. Xavier Woods pinned 1, 2, 3. After the match, Kofi's trying to calm Xavier Woods down, and you can tell he is pissed. And they were planting the seeds of this for the last couple of weeks, and before Odyssey Jones got let go by the company, that was kind of like the first fracture. But then you go backstage, and Woods is pissed, and he's confronting the LWO. Why did you stick your nose in there? And Kofi comes back in there, and he daps up the LWO. And he says, Woods, I told them to have their backs. Rey Mysterio got his ass kicked last week. I told them to watch out for us. So again, Kofi kind of going into business for himself, and Woods continues to like freak out, and he storms off. I love this, man. This is what they needed. These are two guys. These are lifers. These are future Hall of Famers. But there's got to be a change in the storyline. There's got to be some kind of depth to these two guys. It can't be the same thing, flipping pancakes out. You know, I love what some of the back and forth was, where Kofi says he did that because it's just him and Woods, and that E's not there anymore. Because people have been thinking about it, and they want to hear that. And again, peppering in that reality. And then Woods says, oh, it's just us. Like, we're not good enough. Like, I'm not good enough. Yeah, a lot of people are wondering that because it's just the New Day's not the same without Big E. So they got to do something different. I'm very curious to see where this leads to because we could be. I would love to see a feud between Xavier Woods and New Day. I mean, Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. Can you imagine that? Two guys, New Days, brothers. And you can kind of see, I know there was matching gear tonight, but I thought it was very curious that Xavier Woods was wearing black gear tonight, where Kofi would, these guys are all about color, right? And having fun and unicorns and pancakes. And he's wearing black while Kofi's wearing green. And he thinks, oh, everything's all good. If we are headed for a feud between Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, sign me up. There is a lot of emotion there. Nobody really saw this coming, but you kind of felt it the last couple of months. They were planting the seeds, and I really hope they go through with it because these guys deserve a big time storyline and they deserve a spot on the card where they're doing good work because they're incredible professionals, two future Hall of Famers, and they've succeeded in a big way. They've made their mark on this industry, and this is kind of the next step on their journeys. I cannot wait to see what's next. All right, Braun Strowman and Bronson Reed. This freaking match was ridiculous. Damage everywhere. Braun throws Bronson into the turnbuckle. The top rope comes off. Bronson launches like a stranger onto Braun Strowman. Then Braun tackles him through the barricade. They go backstage. Just more and more stuff. Braun tackles Bronson Reed through the wall. A piece of freaking uh, sheetrock. I don't know what the hell was going on back there. But these guys, I love this. That is very, very smart. It doesn't always have to be a match. This is a story. So sometimes when guys just like screw it and they just start beating the hell out of each other, like nobody sat down. Nobody was unhappy with that. None. There wasn't a person out there that wasn't happy. I love that. Really, really good stuff. Still can't believe he speared him through the wall. Next up, we see Ludwig Kaiser going into Adam Pierce's office and he's speaking on behalf of Gunther about Sami Zayn. And then Sami Zayn, his entrance pops up on the TV behind them. He comes out to the ring, and here comes Ludwig Kaiser. And again, more of the reality. He starts saying, Ludwig Kaiser looking at him like, I know this is not what you want. I know you don't want to be kind of Gunther's lackey. And if you have something to say, don't speak for him. Have some balls and say it for yourself. Yeah, that's what people want to see. What's the deal with Ludwig Kaiser? Because are they? He turned on his partner. Is Imperium still a thing? Sometimes we'll go a couple weeks and we won't see them together, and then they're back together like nothing happened. But Gunther comes out. Eventually, Kaiser goes, "I've got something to say," and then he just clotheslines Sami Zayn. Gunther beats on him a little bit. So does Ludwig Kaiser. And then when Gunther goes out of the ring, Sammy is able to reverse a nice German suplex on Ludwig Kaiser, hits him with the Haluva kick. And there we go. Even though Gunther still won't accept the challenge from Sami Zayn, still a good kind of maturation and progression on that storyline. Liv Morgan backstage confronts Damian Priest, and this is after earlier on in the show where Finn Balor confronts Rhea Ripley, and Finn told Rhea Ripley that he was the one that was pushing Dom towards Liv. And we saw those little subtle things. You remember the hotel key? And I love that they just kind of revealed that on Monday Night Raw. So that's the main event, Damian Priest and Dominic Mysterio. But before that, a pay-per-view worthy match between Bianca Belair and Io Sky. They're so incredible. Io so strong, the German suplex. Uh, Io with the suicide dive to the outside, and then Bianca with the suplex walking up the steps and throwing her over the ropes. And I love that there wasn't much on the outside from Kairi Sane and Jade Cargill. They just let these two women do their thing. And such a great finish, such an organic feeling when you watch these two. They're elite. Two of the best female performers in professional wrestling, maybe of all time, but certainly today. There is no two women, in my opinion, in AEW that could do what Bianca Belair and Io Sky did tonight. The timing was well, the chain wrestling was well. There was some high flying stuff in ring, out of the ring. Sign me up for for those two again. And I know they've wrestled in the past, but they just never fail to impress. All right, Damian Priest ends the night. He pins Dominic Mysterio, but a ton of chaos in the match. Rhea spearing Liv over the broadcast table and then onto Wade Barrett. That was awesome. Uh, Match ends again. Damian wins. Jay comes out to help. He's kind of wondering, like, hey, a lot of people in there. How am I going to attack? All of a sudden, some guy just flies wearing a hoodie, spears the hell out of Jey Uso. Of course, it's Braun Breaker. And then Judgment Day just beats the snot out of Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley in the ring. They stand tall to end the show. I love that. Not every show needs to end with the baby faces going over, but I love the physicality from Finn Balor tonight. It was coup de grace over on Damian Priest. I love that. It was really, really good storytelling. It's a nice way to end the night. And the Judgment Day storyline, they're I don't want to say dragging it out because it means like that it's not good. I think it's very good. But I think they just another episode, another episode, another episode. Where does it end? Do they involve more people? Does eventually Liv lose the title to Rhea? What happens with Damian Priest? I don't know. But just another solid 3 hours of a professional wrestling show. Um, from the WWE. I'm just so freaking impressed all the way around. All right. Follow me on all social media platforms. I appreciate everybody for doing so. At JRetcher, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I am everywhere. Head on over to my YouTube page if you've never done it. Just type in JRetcher. You'll be able to find all of my videos. Like and subscribe. I'm doing Retro Reacts. JRetcher podcast is coming up before you know it. And I post a lot of my videos, whether it's Retro's Rapid Reaction or anything else that's going on. You can find it all on my YouTube. We're going to continue putting out great content for fans here in the Tampa Bay area and abroad. All right, it's going to wrap it up for me. I appreciate all of you. I love you. We'll see you next time right here on Retro Reacts. Peace out.